Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the inaugural audio recordings of a delightfully chaotic movie review show called The Old Nerd and the Genius.
Right, and our mission for you today is to distill these hilarious kind of rambling movie takes and, well, try to figure out which host is the old nerd and which is the genius.
Yeah, the hosts are Linder, who predictably kicks off every single recording
Eh.
with his signature catchphrase of, "All right, here we go," and Frank. And as you'll hear right from the jump, even they openly admit the genius title is, well, it's highly questionable.
Oh, absolutely. Before we dive into the specific movies, it is worth highlighting their hilariously self-deprecating style. I
Yeah.
mean, they jokingly warn you not to listen to their inane ramblings.
They do. At one
Yeah.
point, they even compare their unapologetic lack of structure to South Park.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
aggressively unpolished, but
Mm.
that is precisely why it works. You aren't getting a sterile, heavily produced critique. You're basically sitting in the back row of a theater just listening to your friends argue.
And that messy authenticity is fully on display in their first review. It's a sci-fi flick called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
They give it a solid 8 out of 10, which is funny because they cheerfully admit they couldn't completely figure out the plot.
Right, it's a wild time loop movie
Huh.
where the protagonist loops 117 times.
Mm.
They said it had serious Donnie Darko and Groundhog Day vibes.
And because they're so baffled by the narrative, they just zero in on the most memorable, eccentric details, like a bunker featuring a mysterious pig backpack and this bizarre cat monster.
Don't forget the mother character. They excitedly discuss her having a, quote, John Connor son dynamic. Which is funny because John Connor is the son in the Terminator franchise. So did they mean a Sarah Connor dynamic or...
It seems like a genuine slip-up, which just adds to that conversational charm, but that minor confusion is nothing compared to their big debate.
Oh, right, the reality debate. They spent an endless amount of time arguing over which parts actually happened in reality versus what occurred inside an AI simulation.
I mean, I can see how a bizarre cat monster might make you question reality, but they argue the AI angle so fiercely, they ultimately decide they need a whole week just to digest the ending.
They really get into the weeds.
Yeah.
And that confusion with shifting realities might be why they were so hypercritical of the supposedly grounded thriller they tackled next.
Yeah, a Glenn Powell movie called How to Make a Killing. They were much less forgiving here. They gave it a mediocre 6 out of 10 and advised you to just wait for streaming.
The plot is dark, but pretty straightforward. A guy loses his tailoring job to nepotism and decides to assassinate 7 eccentric relatives to claim a $38 billion inheritance.
The victims they describe sound absolutely absurd. They joke about a guy dropping money from a helicopter and Ed Harris playing a grandfather.
And right in the middle of all that, Linder throws in this random, highly nostalgic shout-out to Bayside, Queens and Cardozo High School.
It's a great example of their personal lives bleeding into the critique. But when it came to the actual mechanics of the plot, Frank and Linder hilariously pick apart the holes. They have zero patience for the inheritance trust logic.
Right, they note that $38 billion wouldn't consolidate to a sole survivor. It would just trickle down to the next of kin.
Exactly. And they wonder why a billionaire wouldn't just hire 20 lawyers instead of sitting on death row confessing his master plan to a priest.
You'd think they might suspend disbelief for a movie with helicopter cash drops, but they demand internal consistency.
They do. And this deep dive really proves you don't need to be a polished professional critic to have a great time unpacking complex media. Sometimes the real entertainment is just the joy of the conversation.
Which leaves you with a fun question to ponder.
Mm-hmm.
If you started a conversational review show with your best friend today, which one of you would be the old nerd and which would be the genius?
That is a great thought experiment for sure.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to explore on your own. While debating the unreliable reality of that first sci-fi movie, the hosts touch on a very modern anxiety. The idea that AI will eventually become so convincing people will just blindly accept whatever an algorithm tells them.
Right. In a world where we rely on search engines and chatbots to navigate daily life, are we already willingly entering the very simulation those two hosts spent an hour trying to decipher?
Definitely something to think about.